Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your educator. I warmly welcome you all on our YouTube platform where we in today's video are going to discuss some major theorists who are related to the literary theory field of New Historicism. Now, in one of the videos, I've already discussed the major tenets like what is New Historicism, who is the father of New Historicism. So just I'll repeat the same things again for this particular pattern. 1980s mein, this was a school, a literary school which emerged with its thought processes, etc., which tried to talk about how not only the mainstream literature, but the other pieces of literature or other pieces of writing or oral things, they hold the same value as, to show the culture and society of a particular age, right? So when we move ahead with uncovering the multiple facets of New Historicism, we get to know that it is not just related to literature and uncovering of literature, but how literature in every stance, and यहाँ पे अगर मैं word literature use कर रही हूँ, do not consider it only English literature या फिर जो हम लोग normal novels, fiction etc. पढ़ते हैं. Consider the other forms of literature such as diary writing, anecdotes, etc. Right? So, who was the father here? The father of New Historicism is Stephen Greenblatt. Right? So, इनका मानना भी यही था when he started uncovering and he majorly started talking about Shakespeare, right? And the Elizabethan age. वहाँ से he started emerging and seeing the other things through the lens of a new historicist, right? So let's just first of all see and talk about Greenblatt himself. He was a pioneer in Renaissance studies and new historicism. Prominent American. Now I tell you that we know that in myth criticism, Northrop Frye is a theorist who was a Canadian. So whosoever is a major figure in any literary theory, now उनका origin भी कई बार पूछ लेते हैं. तो Greenblatt is an important figure in here during these times. So he was born in America on November 7th, 1943. Just for the sake of basic information, significant contributions to Renaissance studies, literary criticism and new historicism could be seen. And he would be coining terms like resonance, he would be coining terms like wonder, anecdote as well. And we also will be taking a look at the major works of this particular person. So I would highly suggest and recommend that you guys sit up with your notebooks, etc. to note these things up. Okay? So what are the key points in the book? So he wrote a book, Renaissance Self-Fashioning, which has a subtitle. Whenever you are doing any book of a major writer from literary theory, you need to make sure that you are noting down the names of the subtitles as well. Because वो लोग subtitles भी पूछ लेते हैं. Okay. So it was published in 1980, right when the time we see a new historicism emerging in the field. Groundbreaking work exploring self-representation in literature and art. How one person's self is represented in literature and other forms of art is what we see in here, right? Contribution to Renaissance studies, this we have done. Examination of how individual in the Renaissance era shaped the identities of their own selves. If I try to talk about Shakespeare again, if I talk about Shakespeare and the fool that he incorporates in most of his works, we get an idea that how he is trying to give us some sort of comic relief as well. But if I try to talk about the social and historical, significance that was happening around here and there during his times, we also understand that how, because naam hi work ka ye hai ki Renaissance self-fashioning, where self-exploration is being done, right? During Shakespearean times, Renaissance was also taking place, right, in various parts of Europe, including England as well. So he has been a person who has contributed in some, editorials as well. So he has been an editor of the Norton Shakespeare, which was published in 1997. Co-editor of the Norton Anthology of English Literature, and this thing highlights his role in shaping literary canons and curriculum. So you see, he is not just, and mind you, I was thinking of going forward with a course that was free during the COVID times. हार्वर्ड ने शुरू करे थे, तो वहां पे शेक्सपियर को he teaches, right? So in Harvard, distance courses that are there, if we try to choose major courses of Shakespeare, if we try to read Hamlet for that instance, in that particular course only, we see that it's Greenblatt who's teaching us. So what better than having the new historicist himself teaching us and giving us some critical thinking capabilities or abilities here, right? So then he also published another important work, Will in the World, in 2004, biographical exploration of Shakespeare's life and times, right? So here he is talking about William. Will in the World, William Shakespeare in the World is trying to talk about. Critical acclaim, it got him because it got very famous, because we see that there were other people who were trying to explore the works of Shakespeare, but none of them would try to go deeper or in depth in talking about Shakespeare majorly. But he did that. He tried to, incorporate the social, historical, and cultural elements of Shakespearean age and how they were influencing the writer or how they were being influenced by the writer himself. Demonstrates Greenblatt's ability to engage a broader audience, because Shakespeare is a person, is a writer who is very much read by different sorts of age groups, even for that matter. And people read him because the universal themes, etc., that he uses are of very much prominence, right? So these are certain key terms that he has given us. So the first key term, and they ask questions related to who coined which term. So resonance is a term, और ये भी पूछ सकते हैं कि वो कौन से school की है. So resonance is a term which is from the school of New Historicism as we are proceeding forward. What is the simplest definition of resonance is the enduring impact of literature across time and culture. How, even if we are reading any book, if we are so much immersed into that, we feel like, अच्छा, उस time के culture के साथ I can relate, उस time की चीजों के साथ I can relate, right? For example, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. The exploration of racial injustice in the 1930s South continues to echo in contemporary discussions. We see that even if we hear certain instances of racial injustice, even in India or the other parts of the world, we know that it's still, there. So वो book, चाहे मैं आज के time पे पढ़ूं, चाहे मैंने 4 साल पहले पढ़ी होती, I would have known that, of course, this is something which is having the importance even in this time and the time that is yet to come, right? Then we have 1984 by George Orwell. This particular novel was a dystopian one, talking about anarchy here and there, and how, there is this sort of big brother who's watching all over us. And what is that figure of big brother? It is the surveillance that we are being, under some sort of surveillance that is set. Orwell's dystopian vision of a surveillance state remains relevant, prompting discussions about government overreach and erosion of privacy. आज के time पे भी we are getting linked to each and everything. अगर हम अपने phones पे एक आध चीज normally भी अपने friends के साथ discuss कर रहे होते हैं, जैसे the other day I was talking about some product, right? And suddenly that the ads, etc., they started popping up on my Instagram, on other fields as well. So you see that this thing is really very, prominent and growing, where the erosion, we can see it in the prominent light. In what sense? That we can see कि हाँ जी critically देख सकते हैं that how, because of growing surveillance, we see that privacy is being hindered of the people who are there. So this is first term that he has given us. The simplest definition I have tried to provide you all with. Then we have wonder, right? The ability of a work to elicit amazement and marvel. Whenever you read a piece of work, you are amazed by some sort of maybe fantastical elements, some sort of mystical elements, etc. Right? Let's just take a look at the examples here. First example I have incorporated is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Louis Carroll. So you see that हम लोग, we will not believe in such a thing in real life. that she went to Wonderland and these things happened, so on and so forth, right? There was a red night, there was this, all the things that were happening. So the fantastical world that she was being a part of, with its whimsical characters and peculiar events, where things are, if we read another work, Through a Looking Glass, also by Louis Carroll, so where we see that सारी चीजें उल्टी हो रही हैं in the work, right? Everything is going, or doing things which is against the natural state of, अगर कोई घड़ी सीधी चलनी चाहिए, clockwise चलनी चाहिए, it is the one जो टाइम पीछे करती जा रही है. People should walk forward, but we see that they are walking like this in Through the Looking Glass. So we see all the things are going, क्योंकि ग्लास में हम अपने आप को देखते हैं, तो we see the other side of the image, like हमारा उल्टा दिखता है, opposite दिखता है. So that's one thing that happens there. We know that we will not be able to reach it there, but that wondrous element that is there, it helps to maybe soothe some sort of thing in our minds as well. Okay? Then we have 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Gabriel Garcia Marquez is a person, is a writer who is very much associated with magic realism, right? So incorporating realist elements and magical elements together in a fictional work, right? So Marquez's magical realism, filled with surreal events and fantastical elements, create a narrative that evokes a profound sense of wonder and awe, right? So we see wonder, as the name suggests, कोई भी piece of literature आप पढ़ते हो, जिसको देख के you feel like, oh my God, what have I read? Like, this was fantastic. There were certain elements that I would not have thought of believing in my real life. Then we have another term that is by the name anecdote. Short personal narratives illustrating a message or insight. So let's just take, for example, छोटी stories, and these can be in the form of oral or written formats as well. Greenblatt's use of anecdotes in New Historicism is something which is important, and they are grounding theoretical concepts in with concrete examples. Let's take a look at one example here. Morning coffee mishap. तो आज के दिन में क्या हुआ? You tell your boyfriend when you go home. You tell your mother when you go home. So all these things, when you are narrating them to your friends, relatives, or maybe you're noting them down on a diary, your daily day का जो भी हुआ है, all these things are what? They are some sort of small incidents which are being, somewhere or the other, or shedding light on what happened in that particular age or era, right? One morning, in my rush to get ready for work, I accidentally poured orange juice into my coffee instead of creamer. The moment I took that first sip was a wake-up call in more ways than one, right? That what I had done is not what I should be doing, right? So that's that. Then these are the major works that we are supposed to do when it concerns Stephen Greenblatt, and please make sure that you are pausing the screens here and noting them down right away, right? And also make sure that you are noting down the subtitles of Greenblatt's work, because he is very prominent when New Historicism is concerned. The next writer in line is Louis Montrose, who was born on February 19. Significant contributions to New Historicism, that's why we are discussing him here. Held esteemed positions including the class of 1937 Professor of English and History at UC Berkeley, right? So we see him holding such prestigious positions in different aspects as well. So we see the important work that was published in 1989, Professing the Renaissance. So he's also taking Renaissance in its entirety, and we also need to make sure that here also we are noting down the subtitle of the work as well. Now, what were the key considerations of the work? It was published in 1989, focuses on new historicist principle, but here, Montrose will give us the term or a phrase that would be the textuality of history and historicity of text, right? He explores the relationships between literature, this is very important, power dynamics and culture during the Renaissance only. How and why? Let's just look at this. First, he gives us textuality of history, that how history is also, it challenges conventional notions of history. We are doing what? हम history को textualize कर रहे हैं. We are noting it down basically, right? History as a linguistic construct influenced by ideologies, and whatever ideologies would be there, whosoever will be the person in power during the Renaissance times. There was Queen Elizabeth, of course, in England. So we see that whatever ideology she held, or any person who would be in power would hold, वही हम लोग को देखने के लिए उस टाइम के लिटरेचर में prominently देखने के लिए मिलेगा. He emphasizes the interpretive nature of historical writing as well, that we can also interpret. So we are textualizing the history that is there. We are putting it into words. Then we have historicity of text, where we see some sort of culture also which is hidden beneath the text. Literary works, not timeless or detached, they actively participate in social, political and cultural dynamics. This is what he has said already. This is what he believes in. Reciprocal relationship between literature and history. So यहाँ पे how you are taking into consideration the history, power dynamics etc. of an age, and then उस time को आप text के through दिखा रहे हो. That is the historicity of text, that they are not bound in any time or culture etc. So they are timeless, they are not timeless or detached. So application, let's just see India's struggle for independence. We see critical analysis of the historical accounts. Now here, you can also take Greenblatt's interpretation of using anecdotes as well. People who are not from mainstream and people who are from the mainstream. So hearing both sides of their stories to understand what was happening around the world when India was trying to gain independence in 1947, right? Language choices, cultural biases in constructing narratives, reciprocal relationship, I told you, that is, somewhere or the other persists in between literature and historical context. उस time के writers, अगर आप खुशवंत सिंह की बात करें, Train to Pakistan की बात करें, you will see that how the writers who are penning down, any writers who are belonging to the partition literature, they are somewhere or the other penning down the plight of people. अगर हम सादत हसन मंतो की बात करते हैं, we see works like खोल दो, we see works like Toba Take Singh, right? So how are they reflecting the plight of the people, the common people, as well as something of note? Rabindranath Tagore's work, Gitanjali, recognition of the historicity of text. Tagore's poetry as a response to colonial rule, where the mind is without fear, is one poem that he has penned down in Gitanjali only, right? Contribution to the cultural and political discourse of the time. This is what we see, and these are the two major theories that we have that are related to New Historicism, which is a very prominent field. I'll see you guys again in another video. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye-bye.